Hi guys, Fisher for short here. Today we're going to do a very quick episode on Asian Carp Explained. I'm kind of talking fast because we're going to explain it under 7 minutes. This video is actually inspired by one of my science projects and I decided to dig deeper into it. And today we're going to be answered with 5 W's and 1 H. Who and what is Asian carp? Where did they come from? When did they come? Why did they come? And how they're invasive. So before we start, please go down and click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Please like and share my videos so you can help support the channel. Now let's get into it. What/who is Asian carp? The term Asian carp has been thrown around a lot. For example, the USGS, United States Geological Survey, recognizes bighead silver grass and black carp as Asian carp, and this is what usually defines Asian carp in the United States, while some other sources recognize Asian carp as typically only bighead and silver carp. However, if we are going to define Asian carp as carp native to Asia, we will end up with 10 species. Amur carp, bighead carp, black carp, common carp, crucian carp, goldfish, grass carp, large-scale silver carp, mud carp, and silver carp. Looking at their toxication orders, all these 10 species of carp share the family Cyprinidae, aka the carp and minnow family, and are split into 6 different genera. However, the only ones that have been introduced to the United States and have been severely damaging the ecosystem include common carp, grass carp, black carp, bighead carp, silver carp, and in some cases, also the goldfish. Where did they come from? When did they come? And why did they come? Let's kick it off first with common carp. Introduced to the United States in 1831, they were widely distributed by the late 90s as a food fish. However, people don't like eating them now and they turned out to be super invasive after being left uncontrolled in the wild. Next, we have the grass carp. Introduced to the US in 1966, they were first sent to aquaculture facilities but have been widely distributed after accidental escapes and legal/illegal introductions. They are now found in 45 states out of the 50 states in the United States. They are sometimes stocked in some states to control algae growth, yet they are also very invasive in some areas. We now have a black carp, which was accidentally introduced in the 70s when people were shipping grass carp overseas. They may intentionally introduce it in the 80s to control snails and grub populations in aquaculture facilities. However, one day everything changed. There was a flood, and they were swept into the Mississippi River, where they will remain invasive for the decades to come. Bighead carp is one of the better-known Asian carp species, along with silver carp. Both Asian carp species were introduced in the 1970s to control algae growth, and the rest of the story is similar to the black carp. Swept in by a flood, and they were invasive. Now, the goldfish is kind of interesting. Neither introduced as a food fish, nor a way to control algae. They were simply introduced for their beautiful colors. However, some owners got tired of them and dumped them in a local pond, lake, or river. Then, the cute pretty goldfish will grow into big evil goldfish that will crowd out the native species in the area. How are they invasive? Apparently, we could see a trend in their origins. 4 out of the 6 most invasive Asian carp species were introduced for algae control, but they were all accidentally released or basically swept out by a flood. And in the wild, they kinda did their job too well. All carp species feed off a diet of algae, aquatic plants, planktons, and in some cases also crustaceans. This would lead to a competition with native species but also consume this food. Because they consume mainly plants, they are invasive primary consumers, competing with native primary consumers. A lack of food for native primary consumers will lead to a lack of food for the native secondary consumers, and so on up to the top of the food chain. However, because they grow up to such a big size, they don't really have any predators around that would be big enough to eat them unless we were still in their juveniles. Mature at 2 to 4 years old and could live up to 9 years old, these nuisance fish produce 1 to 2 million eggs per year with a high survival rate averaging 20%, while other native species have a way lower survival rate. Due to their large populations and aggressive feeding habits, if not controlled, they will overpopulate the waterways in the United States and will wipe out all the native species in that specific waterway in the process. Now we're going to talk about ways to stop these very invasive nuisance fish. The government has already taken action to stop them by using toxins such as rotentin to stop fish kills, build dams to keep out these invasive Asian carp species from certain bodies of water such as the Great Lakes, and simply setting traps for them. However, these solutions are pretty complicated and could come with a big budget. So here I listed out 3 things you could do to help reduce the population of Asian carp next time you're out there in the outdoors. Number 1, simply fish for them with a rod, reel, and line. Grass carp, black carp, common carp, and goldfish could all be caught with worms, snails, corn, etc. However, some of the species, such as silver and bighead carp, are plankton feeders, so you can't actually catch them with bait. Whereas one solution, and that is snack hooks. Well, you would have to be very careful of your surroundings, so you won't actually accidentally hit someone. 2. Bowfish hormone. Bowfishing is a ton of fun and one of the more deadly weapons against the Asian carp species, as mentioned in how they are invasive. They grow up to incredible big sizes. This makes them super easy to spot and target when bowfishing. 3. Boat and net. You've probably seen or heard this before. A boat and net method is where one or a group of people drive a boat with a bunch of nets and scoop out carp jumping out of water. This method usually works for silver and bighead carp, which are infamous for jumping out of water and hitting people when getting spooked by the boat driving on top of the surface of the water. So definitely keep your eyes open for any flying fish if you're doing this type of activity. These are just some of the more common, easier, and economical ways to help decrease the population of Asian carp. Feel free to do more research on the federal website or state's government website on how you could further help to solve the problem of Asian carp. I hope you enjoyed the video and learn more about Asian carp before you watch this video. As always, please subscribe, like, and share. Fish Freshwater signing out.